You're listening to Tea Time with Matt, folks. And we've got news from the front of the revolution. Following instructions from the de facto commander of the armed forces, General Stupidity, the army is now supporting the rebels. So that's good news for the revolution. Go, General Stupidity. We do love a bit of General Stupidity.
What happened to General Mayhem?
General Mayhem, he's fled. He's fled the country. He's gone to Switzerland with the beloved leader.
What about General Ignorance?
General Ignorance, he's been arrested. He was too ignorant. Any more?
How about General Disarray?
General Disarray, that's a South Park thing. Right. Oh dear. It's time for some common sense advice, folks, which is always welcome here on Tea Time with Matt. We are going to do some common sense advice on how to topple a dictatorship. Is your country getting you down? Does your government Let me try that again. Does your government commit horrific human rights atrocities against its citizens? Do you feel violated by intrusive surveillance or draconian laws about what you can wear on a Tuesday? You might need revolution, trademark, patent applied for. But Matthew...
or you're in America.
But Matthew, you extremely brave and charismatic leader amongst men, I hear you cry. I know nothing about politics. How do I start a revolution? Trademark patent applied for. Fear not, citizens. I'm here to help you topple your oppressive authoritarian regime and take power back for the people. This is Tea Time with Matt's common sense advice on how to topple a dictatorship. And before we do that, we're going to need a common sense advice sound bed because, you know, some things just need to happen. Here we go.
Hit it!
Oh yeah, feel that funky common sense advice bed. Step 1. Is your revolution really necessary? Everyone hates the people in power. After all, politicians are generally awful human beings to begin with. But there's a few things to consider before you start plotting to overthrow the government. First question for you. Can you remember when your country last held an election? Was there more than one party or candidate on the ballot? Were the polling stations overseen by armed thugs telling you who to vote for? Now take a look around you. Is there CCTV on every street corner? That isn't necessarily a problem in itself. Is there CCTV actually in your home? That probably is a problem. Are there propaganda posters everywhere? What's the news like? Do journalists routinely criticise the government without getting mysteriously replaced the following day? Is the pick of the day in your TV guide a mass public execution? If all of these things seem a bit off, you probably live in a dictatorship, and revolution is necessary. Step 2. Do other people feel the same as you? It's all very well realising the government needs to be toppled, however if it's just you standing in the street waving a placard and shouting slogans, it's going to be a fairly short revolution. People will point and laugh at you at best, or you'll get arrested and killed at worst. Best thing to do is find other people who feel the same way. Look for political opposition groups, internet bloggers, co-workers who grumble about the daily floggings. You'll need
one crazy guy who lives under the bridge who's shouting.
The crazy guy under the bridge.
People.
You'll need lots of people to help you spread the word about your cause and rally the population to stand up to their oppressors. Step 3. Be prepared to make sacrifices. Oppressive regimes don't tend to like it when you start telling people how awful the current administration is. You're likely to be arrested and beaten up, possibly even executed. The key is to make yourself as popular and vocal as possible, so that the government can't risk executing you without triggering the very revolution that they're trying to stop. If you do end up in prison, your supporters can use your plight to stir up anger and get more people to join the cause. It's a no-brainer. Step 4. Arm yourself. I don't mean get an arm, I'm talking about weapons. It would be lovely if you could have a bloodless revolution, wouldn't it? No death, no destruction, just the government quietly accepting the will of the people and stepping aside. Sadly, this never actually happens. The government will deploy the armed forces against you and your fellow protesters. So for this reason, you'll need weapons. I highly recommend Honest Jeff's small arms and heavy weaponry dealership round the back of the Elizabeth Barracks at the Army Training Centre in Purbright, Surrey. He's also on Gumtree.
Also, if you happen to know anyone from the Assassin's Creed games, probably should hire them on to take care of the leaders.
Good point. Honest Jeff reserves the right to sell weapons to the government you're trying to topple if they offer him a better deal. Legal disclaimer. Step 5. Use the internet. Most revolutions in the last 10 years or so have coordinated through Twitter. Use hashtags, that's that thing, and regular tweets to outsmart the authorities, and rally your supporters to take up placards and take back the streets. The more people you get out on the streets to support you and fight the government, the more likely it is your revolution will succeed. And finally, step 6. Have a plan for afterwards. After the revolution, when the government has been overthrown, you'll need to sort out what happens next. Once the novelty of being free from oppression wears off, and people realise that the trains have stopped running on time, and their bins haven't been collected for 6 weeks, you're going to be the focus of their anger. An interim government
And you might have a revolution on your hands.
Any interim government must be set up to sort out all the day-to-day problems. Then free and fair elections must happen as soon as possible. Don't fall into the trap of putting off the elections for months and years. By doing that, you're on a slippery slope to becoming all that you hate, and someone else will be listening to this advice and plotting to overthrow you. And so the vicious cycle begins again. Break
However,
the cycle.
we have good news.
Yes?
Next week, we'll be talking about how to stop a revolution. So, if you need that...
Break the cycle. Be the government that your people need you to be. Or just seize power for yourself and become a dictator. Let's face it, most revolutions end up actually putting someone just as bad or worse in power anyway. Why bother trying to be better? Surrender to the inevitable and send the police to arrest all the people who picked on you in school. After all, if an arshole's got to be in charge of the country, it may as well be you.
Sorry for interrupting.
It's alright. And that was Tea Time with Matt's common sense advice on how to topple a dictatorship. As always, we remind you that Tea Time with Matt's common sense advice is very much tongue-in-cheek and should be taken with a small barrel of salt. We are not responsible for what may happen to you if you actually try overthrowing your government. Anyone who tries to overthrow their government after listening to this advice probably deserves everything they get.